I played Genshin Impact for the first time in 2023. Uh-oh.
I played a game that contradicted with the very soul of my being.
Yes.
Nintendogs, but that's not what this video
I
is
had Nintendogs.
about. I played Genshin Impact. And I survived. And I came
For
out
now.
very surprised. After I swapped to
Ooh,
variety
shoes.
on top of just covering the lore of League of Legends. At the beginning of 2023, I wrote down all the universes I wanted to visit. And unsurprisingly, Genshin was not one of them.
Right.
I was focusing more on stuff like showing people the book lore of the cyberpunk universe.
That's
Or
nice.
I wanted to check out the horrifying universe of Warhammer. So, why did I decide to play Genshin all of a sudden? Memes. Specifically, I wanted to have context. Every now and then, someone shares a Genshin meme around me. So I just wanted to know what the memes were about. And in a similar way, whenever a new trailer comes out, the entire community gets hyped. So I just
They love it, man.
wanted to know what the hype was about. I mean, when you have a look at the new character teasers,
30
they
million.
have dozens of millions of views.
That's
This
crazy.
simple trailer for a guy with a spear has 30 million views.
Nuts.
Somehow, that's more than the trailer for the lady who pulls out a sword out of her private parts.
I don't
but
understand.
more
That
importantly,
sounds
that
like
is
a
more
mistake.
views than literally any of the high-quality cinematics by Blizzard. So yeah, I just wanted to know what the heck is going on. And so I started playing for context. And I stuck around for the gameplay.
What?
And that is not something I expected.
Okay.
I genuinely expected to do 1 or 2 streams where I play this game for the first time
Right.
and then I go back to streaming TFT.
Yeah.
But that didn't happen. Somehow the gameplay and the story are so strong and so good that I now understand why Genshin is so massive. On top of this, Genshin
Wait, hold
stands
up. What is this here? Holy fuck, so it's actually grown since COVID? Oh my god, average monthly players. It's getting bigger every month. Look at this. This is insane.
and why Genshin is so massive. On top of this, Genshin tripled my views on Twitch, so what am I gonna do, not stream Genshin?
Smart.
Anyway, my first experience with Genshin was quite a wild ride. Absolutely packed with surprises. Because I knew absolutely nothing about Genshin besides it being a gacha game.
Yeah.
So now, let's talk about what playing Genshin for the first time
really
in
like.
2023 was like.
Okay.
And don't worry, for any of you who also never played Genshin, I will not spoil any of the story. I am a lore nerd, I wouldn't dare.
Okay.
Also remember, I am only like 30 hours into the game, which sounds like a lot, but there is easily at least 200
But how much
hours
money,
of
though?
content. So even though I will talk about this like a game review, it is still more of an early impression.
Yeah.
Also, beware, there is a
$0,
lot
okay.
to talk about, so the topics will be all over the place, because,
Okay.
as you'll see, everything in Genshin is really well interconnected.
All right.
Let's start with the most important part of any game. Gameplay.
Yeah.
Specifically, I will split this into combat and world gameplay.
Wait, doesn't
because
Tower
both of
Fantasy
these
have the same
so
thing?
much value, they can easily carry entire games. And that's simply
They do.
because if the gameplay is not good, nothing else matters.
That's
because
right.
you won't last long enough to experience the rest. And here, I am glad to say, both are quite stellar. Starting with the combat. At first, it may seem like the combat is a bit basic. You have a basic attack combo, a charged attack for holding down the attack button,
Right.
a dash with some invincibility frames,
And that's like
a
stamina?
basic ability, and an ultimate ability.
Oh shit.
That's it.
That's
but
cool.
the fun
What the
begins
fuck?
when you start throwing
Wow.
in other characters. Because this game is all about swapping them in the middle of the combat. You see, as you're
That's
on your
badass.
adventure, you fill your party with 4 characters, which you can
Okay.
swap in and out at any point during the game, except in the dungeons.
Makes
And
sense.
each of these characters wields a different element. There are 7 in total.
Got
There is Pyro, Geo, Dendro, Anemo, Hydro, Cryo, and Electro. Turn that into a rap, and these elements interact with each other in some really cool ways.
Like
First
what?
of all, it is not exactly like it is in Pokemon, where some types have super effects against other types.
Yeah.
Because here, the 2 elements always react in both ways. meaning that just as water is strong against fire, so is fire strong against water because it can vaporize it. The only difference here is that the reaction one way may be stronger than the reaction the other way.
I see.
Also, when it comes to damage
That makes
immunities,
sense.
it is simple. Enemies are always immune to their own element. That's it.
Okay.
But besides
like molten
this,
core.
besides just damage multipliers, all of the elements have really unique interactions. Normally, a frost ability is going to slow the enemy.
Yeah.
But if you make them wet first, you can freeze them with a frost ability. After
that
which,
makes sense.
you
Cool.
can shatter them with a geo ability. Or you can cover
wow.
them with plants, which is gonna make them burn better. Or
So
you
you're
can set them
comboing
on
them.
fire and overload the plasma with an electric ability. Or how about you set the ground on fire and send a tornado through it so that it becomes a fire tornado? And
That
recently,
is
I
really
discovered a lovely combo where I can use a dendro ability on water.
What I like about this the most is the fact that it's intuitive. Like like these things would make sense.
Which is gonna spawn seeds around, which I can ignite and make them blow up.
Okay.
It is insane how well all of these elements play together.
Sure.
And during combat, setting up all of these combos is so much fun. It makes every combat flow like a proper anime fight where a group is working together to defeat the enemy. I really have nothing bad to say about the combat.
And you can play
It
multiplayer,
works
right?
Beautifully. Just remember that all of these element combinations also work against you. So the enemies will often be paired against you with synergies. Expect a lot of Hydro Mages paired with Frost Mages, which is gonna make your life awful. But you see, since elements are the core of Genshin's world, they are used in more ways than just in combat. So let's have a look at what the gameplay loop looks like outside of fighting. Have you ever played Breath of the Wild? Yeah,
No.
at this point pretty much everyone knows where Genshin stands.
Yes.
When Genshin was first released only 3 years ago, I thought this game was a lot older. I remember a lot of people made videos making fun of Genshin for being a cheap clone of Breath of the Wild.
Yeah, it was very common. I remember the exact same thing.
Because Genshin really did start as a clone of Breath of the Wild. That was before Genshin embraced the elements which gave the game its own spin. And yes, after playing both games, I can confirm, it is hard not to draw the line as they are the same down to running around, opening chests, having very similar enemies, climbing, gliding, leveling up your stamina so you can last longer, and so on. Genshin is nearly identical in many ways. Which is good. These days, most...
Yeah, exactly. You just steal it. You just steal the game and steal their ideas, and that's all there is to it.
If not all modern successful games take an already
Take what
existing
works,
idea
yep.
and make it better. League of Legends was a Warcraft mod.
That's right.
Fortnite was a Minecraft mod. TFT came from a Dota mod. Valorant came from Counter-Strike,
That's
which
right.
was a Half-Life mod. These modders
Was it?
should have
I
been
didn't
paid a
even know
lot of
that.
money by now. And in this case, Genshin came from Breath of the Wild. And I'm totally fine with this. There is no shame in taking an idea and making it better. But I have to say, from what I remember, people were really harsh at Genshin at first.
Do you remember that guy that took his PlayStation 4 and smashed it on the ground in front of all of the Chinese players at that gaming convention because he was so angry at the fact that they stole his game? Yep. Remember him? He didn't like that at all. Here it is.
So these brings the PlayStation 4, right? To like the PlayStation 4 China Joy event,
Yep,
which is
there
where
it
they're
is.
showing these games. Like they have like Chinese game
And he's got it
development.
right there in his hand.
So this guy has like a PS4 Pro.
He's
on it.
got that shit.
Flops that
Boom,
thing.
right
It is
there.
a Pro, by the way, like you can tell, it's got that weird like double-decker.
Smash
sandwich
that
style.
shit on the
What does he do?
ground.
Fucking smashes that thing into security steps.
Boom.
And, like
The guy in the middle, bro.
fucking
Yeah, look at him. He was
smooth. It's got
fucking.
that weird-
Look at him, man. That dude is pissed.
like double-decker sandwich style. What does he do? Fucking smashes that thing into security steps. And
Oh
like,
my god.
like, please, sir, can you stop tarting up the place like that?
Yeah, can you stop fucking smashing PlayStations? There it is, -1 PS4. There you go. So that's what actually happened right there. People
Or
were
it
really
forged
mad
its
about
own
it.
path. Anyway, when it comes to gameplay, since they are standing on the shoulders of a giant, the base gameplay loop is amazing. At least for me, so far. I hope it doesn't get too repetitive.
Every game will get repetitive if you play it enough.
Right? You go out into the world, you pick your main quest, which gives you a basic direction, but from that point on, you can explore anything at any time. Which is really cool on its own. If you see something awesome in the distance, you can just go there.
Just go over there.
Yes, maybe the enemies will be a bit higher level, but you
That's what I'm gonna do.
absolutely have the freedom to do anything. I fought a level 37 boss with my level 3 squad.
Oh, wow.
Or at least I tried.
Jesus.
Although in hindsight, you can totally
You got
defeat
one
all the
tap.
bosses from the very beginning. In this sense, it's kinda like Dark Souls, you just have to learn the pattern.
Okay.
With that said, while unlimited exploration is a really
So
cool
it's like
aspect,
anime Dark Souls.
a lot
Got
of
it.
games crumble underneath it, because they don't encourage exploration in a good way. And in the case of Genshin, it is done in a scarily
Yeah, true.
amazing way. Throughout the world, pretty much everywhere you can find little chests. These chests give you a bunch of weaker loot, maybe some crafting material,
Okay.
but most importantly, account experience. You get a smaller amount for small chests and a bigger amount for bigger chests.
That makes
and
sense.
you want to level up your account, or as they call it, the adventure level or adventure rank, because the entire progression of the game is locked behind it. First of
Okay.
all, the main storyline requires a certain adventure rank to continue, meaning that if you want to play
I see.
the
Okay,
main
that's
story,
interesting.
you better go exploring. But also,
Wow.
your characters have certain limitations which unlock at certain adventure ranks.
Got it.
The same goes for leveling weapons and so on.
Is it Battle Pass? Does it get reset? Or is it Venture Rank like, I reached it in 2 years? Bro, I'd probably get it in 2 months. Yeah, I'll probably get it in like probably 2 months or so. Like, I would just farm that shit out. It'd be easy.
on. So you want to explore and open chests so you can continue on the main progression. But you know, even in this case, freely running around and opening chests isn't really the main driving force of this system. After what I said, it still may sound boring, because
Okay.
the key is in the way you find these chests.
All right.
First of all, the exploration itself is fun. You have the ability to climb anything, you have the ability to glide anywhere.
Like Tower
These
Fantasy.
two simple abilities make traversing landscape a lot more interesting.
Uh-huh.
And it means the world design can also play with verticality. But
Oh,
the
they
way
have those little things around them like Tower of Fantasy.
the chests are hidden also matters.
Like Breath of the
Some
Wild.
of them are just randomly found at different
Damn.
places. Some of them are in camps of monsters locked behind killing everything.
Oh, like
but
in Tower
a lot
Fantasy.
more are hidden behind clever puzzles. And let me tell you, these puzzles are literally everywhere.
Yeah, like
Have you
Tower
ever
of
seen
Fantasy,
what the
remember
Breath
that?
of the Wild map looks like with all the hidden secrets? Yeah, Genshin is exactly the same.
Oh my
and
God.
these puzzles come in a very impressive number of shapes and sizes. From guiding a ghost thingy back to its shrine, to lighting up suspiciously placed torches, to hitting stones with corresponding elements, to picking randomly placed carrots, to hitting suspiciously placed rocks, to blowing wind at the wind thingy, to doing specific timed challenges, to simply finding a chest at the most improbable place imaginable. I could go for a very long time here. The point is, there is an insane amount of secrets.
Wow.
And the chances are, if a pebble on the ground looks suspicious, it is most likely a puzzle. The best part about this is that when you open a chest, all you have to do is look into the distance and you can see 8 more. This creates an amazing loop of exploration, where
Oh,
you
it's
stay
like
up at 2 in the
breadcrumbs.
morning
Yeah,
thinking
I
to
get it.
yourself, yeah, I'll go for another chest.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, you do another one.
Oh, it's 4 in the morning. On top of just
It is
chest
what it is.
hunting, there is a lot more to explore for. Each region also has its own sigils scattered around. These can be turned in at the big statues of each region, which increases your stamina.
I see. Okay, that makes sense. By the way, all the people that are memeing on me saying that I couldn't complete this, remember back whenever Lost Ark was coming out, and I said that it would take me 6 months in order to get the Golden Terpion, and then I got it in 6 months? Remember that? Yeah, think about that. It's time gated. Well, I won't be able to do the time gated stuff, but everything else I'll be able to do. And then in Tower of Fantasy, whenever I 100% at every single zone.
exactly like in Breath of the Wild. Which of course helps you with climbing longer and gliding further. You also want to look for crafting materials. This can be anything from branches to apples. Or it can be mining stones. Or even elemental plants. These rare flowers have to be picked in a very specific way. For example, if you want to pick up a frosty flower, you have to warm it up. Once again, playing into the idea of using elements. Speaking of which, I should also mention that yes, elements are widely used in the open world. Wind usually helps you with gliding. But even if you want to simply cook, you have to start a fire yourself. And if you want to walk on water, frost abilities may help you.
Oh, that's cool.
Or they can be pain in the ass.
They have that in Tower of Fantasy.
And the weather matters too. Good luck cooking if it is raining. But also, if it is raining, everyone is permanently wet.
Oh.
And you know what that means for electric users.
You zap the shit out of them.
You might also find yourself in the middle of a storm, where lightning is randomly hitting stuff around you, or directly you. All of this creates an amazing loop outside of just combat. And so far, I believe this is a major reason why Genshin is successful. If you think about it, the reason why the hook is so good is because in a lot of ways, Genshin plays like a modern MMO. Even though the main idea of an MMO is the massive multiplayer part, these days most people play MMOs solo. They treat them like single-player RPGs, but they like the idea of a shared world. And this is the core of Genshin. It is a great solo RPG first, but you have the option to play co-op with anyone whenever you want, be it for dungeons or exploration. Good RPGs...
Are things easier or harder in co-op if you have a full group in a dungeon? Harder? Okay, so it depends. Okay.
Also have to have good RPG mechanics. So, let's talk about those. On top of your adventure rank, you also individually level up all your characters with special XP items, which you also find in all the chests, giving you yet another reason to explore the world. After reaching a certain level cap, you have to ascend them by using special crafting material
like in Tower of Fantasy.
The level cap. The brilliance in this is that the items used for the ascensions are different between all characters.
Like
and the
Tower
items
Fantasy,
themselves can be crafted at an alchemy table.
And then, because then whenever you click on it, it tells you the places that you can get it. Yeah, okay.
From specific enemies in the outside world, or they come from dungeons and bosses.
And then the Stardust Exchange, that's the stuff that you can buy on the store, right? Is Stardust Exchange on the store? Or some sort of like a vendor? It's some form of vendor? Yeah, okay.
Items drop from which dungeon, so you always know what to farm. Which reminds me, we didn't even talk about the dungeons. I noticed there are two kinds. Either it is a small dungeon with shuffled rooms,
that's nice,
or it is just an arena where you have to defeat enemies in time. In some ways, these are pretty much the same to the dungeons in Breath of the Wild.
Alright, let's see
Except Genshin doesn't use physics for their interactive puzzles. But from what I've seen, the pre-made room-based dungeons aesthetically change based on where you are. And that still makes them quite cool. Also, this is where yet another cool system is added in.
What's that?
Based on your party composition, you also get special bonuses. If you have two members of the same element, they amplify each other. But if you have 4 members where each is a different element, that also gives you a different buff. So when you're doing dungeons, your team composition matters too. Anyway, back to the characters.
I mean, is this something that like really matters, or if you're good, you can just play it and it won't make a difference? It does matter? Yeah, they have the resonance thing like this. One thing that's really similar to that is in Tower of Fantasy.
Besides leveling them up, if you get multiple
if you have
of the
like
same
2
characters from the
void characters
gacha system,
or something, yeah.
Instead of getting duplicates, you can unlock their constellations, which are extra passive bonuses for their abilities.
Oh,
Speaking
yeah, they
of
have
which,
this in Tower
a bit
of
later
Fantasy.
in the game, you can also level up your abilities.
Yeah, with the
then,
stars.
on top of that, there are also weapons. Not only do all the weapons have different RPG stats, which you can increase by disenchanting your other weapons, but each weapon also has a unique passive ability, which you can upgrade by merging multiple of the same weapons together.
Oh,
On
they
top
have
of
this in Tower of
that,
Fantasy.
Each weapon also has a level cap. And you also
Yep.
ascend your weapons the same way you do your characters.
Uh-huh.
And raising the level cap also changes the weapon's aesthetics.
Yeah,
To
well, they
indicate
have that too. Like, whenever you get to the Constellation 3 in Tower of Fantasy, it changes the aesthetics. Yeah, they have that.
they are more powerful, which was a pleasant surprise the first time I saw this. Now, on top of that, every
God.
character can also equip 5 artifacts. These give you more stats, but they also have more passive abilities.
Oh, like the relics in Tower of Fantasy. Yeah, I know what this is.
In most cases,
Yeah.
it is 2 and 4 set bonuses. And these can get really crazy, especially when you realize that each character can scale with different stats. Some may need attack damage and crit, others gain damage from defense, or they
Oh, wait. Oh, no. These aren't relics. These are like matrices in Tower of Fantasy. Oh, no. Excuse me. Yeah, these are the matrices.
heal based
misunderstood
on their
what this
maximum
was.
health. Also, yes, I should mention that Genshin has a variation of the Golden Trinity. Although here they pretty much only have DPS and supports. At first sight, if you have a look at all of these
Like Tower of
systems,
Fantasy.
it may seem a bit confusing. And that's because at first sight, it is. But
Mm-hmm.
after you learn how all the different systems work, you get to see
Yeah.
how well integrated they all are. And you also get to see how deep your character progression is. There is about a dozen different systems all about leveling up, gathering materials, and ascending your characters.
bet there are.
But they all work together as a single unit.
Yeah.
And from a game designer's point of view, honestly, that's pretty impressive. So now, let's see what other activities you can do with your jacked up characters. While you
Wait,
let's
it tells you his birthday? Wait, April has 30 days in a month? I thought it only had 29. That's February? No, February has 27.
see what other activities you can do with your jacked up characters. While you are out there exploring the world, which is the majority of the gameplay loop, you also get to do quests.
Okay.
Now, unless you are doing the big story quests,
Uh-huh.
they are usually very simple. You go somewhere, you kill something, you go back. And really,
Right.
it's because it all ties together with the entire exploration scheme. Because on your way to the quest, you're gonna open about 30 chests. But don't be fooled by the simple word quests. In reality, the entire list of activities is massive. And each kind
Okay.
of content is slightly different. There is no way I can talk about all of them individually. So besides just exploration, this is all the other stuff the game offers you. At least, this is all the stuff I experienced. I don't even know what's in the end game. I'm pretty sure there's gonna be a lot more stuff as I level up.
I think that a lot of people complain that Genshin doesn't have an end game. I've seen a lot of people unhappy about that.
Anyway, there is daily commissions, city reputation commissions, boss tracking bounty quests, weekly quests, main quests, story quests, world quests, randomly spawned world quests, daily world quests, limited events, browser minigames, character
Wow.
progression quests, dating sim, apparently, adventure guide progression, battle
They have
pass,
that.
which actually has a lore and it got its own cinematic, mini dungeons, replayable boss fights, Spiral Abyss, which is a roguelike dungeon crawler sprinkled on top
yeah,
of
Tower
all
of
of
Fantasy
this.
has one of these.
It's like Torghast,
Yeah.
but good. And I'm only like 30 hours in. I know there is a lot more. Apparently you can also catch wild animals, which I haven't seen yet. I also keep seeing pools of fish, but I haven't figured out how to fish.
Okay.
Not to mention that there is also player housing, which I haven't
really?
unlocked yet.
I didn't
and
even know
on top
that.
of that, they have their own entire playable card game. Just like Gwent in The Witcher.
What the
You can
fuck?
even just run around and talk to different random NPCs and they will give you random items. It is insane how much content there is.
Wow.
It feels like every other adventure rank you unlock a brand new system. But because it is slowly fed to you, you don't get overwhelmed. And also, the game gives you a daily limit so that you don't burn out.
Oh, that's
there are
smart.
these
Like Tower
moon
of Fantasy.
thingies which
Yeah.
replenish decently quickly over time. So far, they don't really feel like a malicious design. Even though these days, with modern mobile games, it is pretty obvious it feels like a mobile game mechanic that makes you wait,
Yes.
unless you decide to pay. But it
Ooh,
honestly doesn't
like
feel
Tower
that way.
Fantasy.
The point is that the dungeons and the world bosses consume this currency. I believe it is 40 per boss and 20 per dungeon. So it acts like a limit to the bigger loot you can get, with the bigger loot being the material for leveling up. So it's not like you are missing out on getting pulls for the gacha system. Overall, it doesn't feel too different to something like the heroic dungeon cooldowns from WoW. Overall, it is amazing how everything fits together so well, especially how the quests lead you to accidental exploration. What also helps with the consumption is that all the main quests as well as all the story quests are fully narrated. Which brings us to the next part.
That actually is a huge W, that they have everything narrated and you know what's actually what they're doing, you know?
Let's talk about the story of this game. But again, no real spoilers, I will only talk about generic stuff. For someone who had no expectations at all, I came out pretty surprised.
Wow.
It is true that for some people the first impressions may be rough. And that's for two reasons.
What's that?
First of all, at the beginning you get introduced to Paimon, your companion who is going to stick with you for the entire journey. And you immediately realize she's not the sharpest tool in the shed. But that's by design. Your main character is silent. They don't speak in any of the major conversations. So Paimon has to be dumb so that everyone keeps explaining things to her, which is how the main character learns about everything. She is basically a conduit for the story. But that doesn't take away from the fact that at times I don't even want to finish the sentence. But the good thing is that over time it grows on you. And it gets saved when other characters get thrown in. So you get to listen to more people than just her. Speaking of which, let's quickly mention the voice acting.
So, is it like one of those characters that's like really annoying to start with, and then as time goes on, people warm up to them? Okay. Like Navi, yeah.
While a lot of people prefer the Japanese or the original Chinese voiceover, I am a humble European who enjoys an English dub with English subs.
I'm not listening to
let
some
me
fucking
tell you,
foreign
since
language.
Paimon is the first character
we
you get
gotta
to meet,
listen to it in American.
It feels a little bit like a punch in the guts. However, it all very quickly turns around. And now I can safely say the English dub is definitely good enough to not stand in the way of the story.
Okay.
And a bit later on, the English dub can get amazing. But over time, you are definitely gonna find some characters whose voices you're gonna hate. Also, for some reason, literally every single person in my chat knew that the voice actor of Lisa is the same as Evelyn. I'm scared to learn how all of you learned about this. Again, I have to add that the voice acting starts a little bit lower, and then it gets better as you move away from Genshin 1.0.
I don't know if you'd count that lower.
Because
count that as lower.
Genshin 1.0 has an amazing feature. Nobody knows how to pronounce the foreign names.
Liyue, guiding us on how to run Liyue for the coming year.
To think I've lived in Liyue all these years and never come to see this before.
What did he say? I don't know what he said, but he did not say Liyue.
Mondstadt is to freedom as Liyue is to contracts. Liyue has a strong focus on business and trade.
You're saying Liyue way
The
too many
Liyue
times.
Kissing, the 7 leaders of the
They're just saying it wrong every time.
Liyue hold true control over Liyue.
What about Liyue?
It is super clear at the beginning they didn't
my
know
God.
that Genshin would be a massive hit. So when it came to localization, they didn't even have a director for the English dub.
Yeah, that's
it is
smart.
obvious they just took the script, they sent it to the voice actors, maybe gave them a
Oh, like Lost Ark.
few notes, and that was it. Nobody gave them directions on proper pronunciation, and they just accepted it the way it came back. Which resulted in every single character pronouncing the name Liyue in a very different way. Anyway, yes, the voices get better over time, so now let's move back to the story. Simply said, the story is very good. At least after you realize that it is written like an anime, which is very different from traditional storytelling. Normally, a classic story has a hero who has a problem, there is a twist, a solution, a conclusion. That's the base form of writing a story. But
Most of the time.
animes are structured a bit differently.
How's that?
Most of them are about groups of people where everyone has unique quirks. And they band together and they fight big bad. And along the way,
sure.
they get a lot of princess is in another castle moments. But not only is that to keep animes running longer, but it also serves the purpose of giving the characters more room for a build-up. And any anime fan can tell you that build-up is very important, because the payoff is what gives you the memorable moments. In animes, it is usually a big fight between two characters, both of which also had a lot of room to grow up. And I'm happy to say, after you realize this is exactly what Genshin is doing, you'll see that the story gets pretty good. And they also use the classic way to structure their characters the way animes do.
How's that?
Every character usually has a very powerful quirk, but they also have a comedic negative one. In
Okay.
Genshin, this is something you'll
That makes
start
sense.
noticing after the first introduction chapter. And somehow they pull this one off really well for their
So
characters
personality
too.
elements.
So basically, it is one big anime, and it works. I assume that's why the Genshin anime was already locked in. Personally, without spoilers, I only finished fighting the first big boss, and I closed off the first chapter, and the cutscene you get after that, which starts the next chapter, immediately hooked me in. In fact, after that, the story started ramping up rapidly. And that's both on the serious side and on the comedic side. Remember, animes like to combine both to keep the story fresh throughout the entire journey.
Usually,
and for those
yeah.
of you who already know Genshin, I just wanted to tell you, I did the perfume quest. Oh my god. So far, Genshin
Is that bad? Oh no. Oh no.
doesn't seem to be afraid of big twists either. And from what I've been told, it gets even better. Although I have to point out that throughout the entire story there are dialogue options. But 99% of them don't matter. And when they do matter, they only skip like a really boring short quest before
Okay.
the story goes back onto its rails. In most cases, your dialogue options only affect the very next sentence in the dialogue, after which it immediately snaps back. I would say this sucks, but for me the fourth wall was already broken down by some other games. In fact, even though Mass Effect was always praised for its conversations, you would be surprised how often they do it as well. It is simply just
Oh, there are many cases where this is true. It doesn't matter what you tell the NPC. It's just like that's how they'll respond to it, and they'll just keep moving forward. Yeah.
illusion of choice. Anyway, if you're like me and you're in for a good story, so far I feel confident. It seems like that's what we will get here. Anyway, I
nice.
should call out a really good feature for all the story lovers. The game allows you to replay conversations from all of the main stories at any time,
Oh,
which
wow.
makes it very easy to go back and look for something you missed. But of
Wait,
course,
can you click this play button? And she says, "Oh, wow." Yes? Oh my god.
if you know me, you know I like explaining the difference between lore and story. Where a story is focusing on an individual, but the lore tells you the story of the entire universe. And in this case, Genshin has some amazing ways to reveal their lore. You can find pretty much everything you may need in your journal. Not only does this act as an amazing model viewer, but when you inspect each model, the game also gives you a large description of the enemies.
Oh,
and
like
this
Dark
is where you can
Souls.
find some really interesting lore nuggets. But
Yeah.
the monsters are not the only ones who get this treatment. You can also go to critters and find their lore too.
What the
This
fuck?
is amazing. I mean, these crabs have more lore than some forgotten champions in League of Legends. And after that one, how about we jump into the weapons? All of which get a short description, but then you notice there is a more button, which gives you a lot more lore. And the
Holy
same goes
shit.
for artifacts, crafting materials, and even food. Food has its own lore.
What?
In this regard, digging into the hidden lore of Genshin
Dinner of Judgment? Bro, that's a chicken.
is not too different from the Soul series. So the reason why
there
the
you go.
universe of Genshin feels so rich is because it is combining the traditional styled anime story with the deep and mysterious world building from Software, both of which resulted in a pretty interesting
Holy
world.
shit.
And now I'm honestly interested to see what I'm gonna find in the future. But now, let's talk about how all of this world building shaped the world.
Okay,
For a
let's see
game
it.
that's all about exploration, of course, it has to have an interesting environment. Because climbing and gliding are key parts of
Can you get headshots with the arrows? Yes. Okay. That's why he's aiming above them. Okay.
traveling, expect a lot of verticality. Whenever you look at the landscape around you, you're gonna see a lot of mountains, which not only serve as excellent vantage points to see all the treasures from, but they also serve to give you enjoyable glide rides. Besides this, the game also makes sure there is something interesting behind every corner, be it scattered ruins, monster camps, or entire cities. Again, this is by design to fit with the exploration. And here, perhaps the most iconic city is the very first one you get to see. Mondstadt. You have probably seen this one already, and it's funny to see how everyone is like, oh hey! That's the one themed after a German city. The design is so cool. Meanwhile, as a humble European myself, I'm thinking, that's just Central Europe. I'm from Prague, and like, I live here. I'm here right now. Another part is how much the environment changed from region to region.
Where's all the Wendy's?
right
Where's the Wendy's? The fuck?
now. Another part is how much the environment changed from region to region. Unfortunately, I have to say the early regions don't really change that much. At first you are in an area with green plains, and then you move into an area with slightly more yellow plains.
Okay.
It is only after
Exciting.
that you get some major visual distinction. Again, I am early in the game and I have only seen glimpses of what the game is capable of. And everyone keeps telling me that things go crazy a bit later on. At least early on, when you walk into the dungeons, you immediately get slapped with some beauty. And the final part of the world design is the graphical take. Yet again, it is no surprise that the visuals were borrowed from Breath of the Wild.
Yeah,
but
it
we
looks
shouldn't
really nice.
underestimate how well this works for Genshin. Even though some may think that this is a low-poly game with cheap graphics, the reality is exactly the opposite. Even though everything has a cartoony texture, the texture is always high quality.
Yeah, I think that people are going to use more of these. Like, you're going to see this art style be used more often, and we're already seeing this. It's the stylized graphics. I think they are less impacted by age, and they're also, in some cases, I would assume, easier to do.
Which means that when you zoom in, you can still see all the details. But when you see something at a distance, the game can replace all the HD textured models with cheaper PNGs without anyone noticing. This makes it so that the game can save up on your GPU, because in this style, a flat image can perfectly mimic a 3D model. But I have to point out, this game is still
So that's kind of like what WoW does with like Torghast and Nama, except for whenever you get closer to it, you realize it actually is just a PNG.
heavy on your CPU, because it is constantly calculating
Yeah, in the
positions
tree.
in the world. I can talk about Genshin's graphics for days, there is honestly a lot to unpack here. Personally, I love the tiny detail where everything has an ever so slight outline, which mimics hard edges. This is the reason why everything looks like it could be part of a colorized manga.
Yeah, it's
anyway,
nice.
the key point is, these are all stylized graphics, which is something every game that wants to last long should aim for.
Exactly.
Stylized graphics simply age better. Look at WoW, League, and RuneScape. Compare them to games that try to go for realism 10 years
Yeah, Unreal. Yes, this is an actual PC game screenshot. I bet it is. Yep.
later. So even though in Genshin's case the graphics just got accidentally good because they were borrowed from Breath of the Wild, the style is doing wonders for them. And it can easily carry them for the next 10 years.
Yeah, I would say
After
so.
which the graphics would slowly start showing their age, which is why Fortnite got an upgrade. And when it comes
Yeah,
to showing age,
that's what they'll probably
rest
do with,
assured, that's
with
something
Genshin.
music will never do. From what I've heard, when it comes to music, Hoyoverse is exactly the same as something like Blizzard or Riot Games. The game may be good, but the music is always 3 times better. In Genshin, you're not gonna feel that at the beginning of the game. The
Okay.
music there is really good, but it is more atmospheric, which is not the kind of music that becomes an earworm. However, a bit later you get exposed to some brilliance. So far, my 2 favorite tracks are combat beneath waves, which I had to blindly listen to because it comes from a future area and I didn't want to get myself spoiled. And beats of water drops, which starts with mystical beeps and boops, then the string instruments join in, and then the beat drops. Needless to say, I'm still waiting for all the beauty this game presents. And from the little taste I got,
I think a lot of games have pretty decent music.
I can't wait. Just like you probably can't wait for the biggest thing of this game.
I even like New World's music.
The character design.
That was great. Yep, there we go.
A wise
okay,
man
here we go.
once said, I know it, you know it, everybody knows it.
That's right.
They are doing it all on purpose.
They sure
It
are.
is all one pile of attractiveness to get you hooked on the gacha. And there
Well, yeah, I mean, they don't want to have, like, hey, here's our new character. It's a fat guy with a neck beard, and he throws Doritos at people. And it's like a new element. It's called grease. Well, yeah, people don't want that.
is a lot of exposed legs everywhere.
Of course.
But the good thing about this is that the devs are absolutely self-aware in this.
Absolutely.
Which means that oftentimes they can play into it for comedic purposes. If you don't know what I'm talking about, this game has 3 kinds of characters. Sexy ladies, skinny guys, goblins. That's it. Also, everyone is white, there is no variety here. On one side, this is pretty sad.
Well, this guy's a little bit brown. This one is too.
Because sometimes I find some badass design on the enemies. And then I realize, yeah, I'll never play as that guy. On that topic, one very popular anime trait is a very old, jacked up guy.
Right.
Come on, Genshin, at least give me that. On the other side...
Yeah, see, that's what I was hoping for. Like, there's got to be at least one big beefy dude, you know, one Giga Chad.
We have to give them credit where credit is due. Even though Genshin locked its characters in a box with some really hard limitations for the designs, somehow they still managed to make every character look unique, which is an insane achievement. Then again, I only quickly glanced through all the characters because I don't want to get them spoiled.
Okay.
Also, I expected like 20 characters. Genshin has like 60. I haven't seen that much, but even so, all the characters
Holy
seem to have
shit.
interesting designs. For example, I've seen a lot of characters wearing skirts.
I wonder
Because
why.
I assume it synergizes with climbing. But some are
Yeah, it
wizards,
does.
some are knights wearing armor underneath that, and some are...
Yeah.
I don't know what to say about that one. Except it is definitely a unique design. Anyway, another limitation of the designs are the weapons. There are only 5 types. A sword, a claymore, a spear, a bow, a book. That's it. All the characters have to fit one of these. If there is a character with a shield, they are only ever gonna use that shield when they are using their abilities.
Okay.
Outside of that, they are primarily a spear user.
So there's no guns. There's not like a machine gun, a grenade launcher, a sniper rifle, like an M16 AK-47. No, okay, that's...
So the shield is not gonna be permanently out. I find this extremely limiting because that means there are no hammers, no staffs, no guns. Even though you can fight enemies that
I
have...
felt this way about New World. And also a little bit kind of this way about Final Fantasy. It's like sometimes I'd want to play a warrior in my Dark Knight, but I'd want to use a mace or an axe. But like all warriors use axes, all Dark Knights use swords. There's like 2 exceptions.
all of these. At least I can confirm, because there are only 5 types of weapons, the devs can take...
Wait, that's 9 weapons and a fish. No, that's a that's a fucking fish. That's not a weapon. That's a fish.
their time with designing some really
It's the claymore?
cool-looking weapons. Also, I
I
noticed
see.
that a lot of characters share the same action animations, with only their special abilities and ultimate abilities changing. Except for the 5 stars. 5-star characters have unique animations on everything.
Smart.
And speaking of stars,
5 stars, that's the gotcha thing.
I think it's time we tackle the elephant in the room.
The whale in the room.
The gacha system. When I decided to play this game, I knew very well what I was getting myself in.
So this one right here, remember the video that we watched? Remember this? 2.2 million views.
Into, despite never seriously playing a gacha game before. I knew I had strong will when it comes to spending money, but I still braced myself for all the predatory systems that might try to lure me in. After all, that's what gacha games are known for.
How many times, if you hit pity timer, or sorry, if you hit a 5-star, does it reset your pity timer? Yes. Oh, that sucks dick. Oh my god, that sucks dick.
And as I played, I found none of it. Now don't get me wrong, the gacha system functions on the very definition of gambling addiction. And that is still here. But
that's how it
outside of
works.
that, the game functions as a very good free-to-play game.
Okay.
You honestly don't have to pay for anything.
I still don't no, I don't know how they added a character into the gacha whose name is literally Kaching. Like, I'm sorry, how the fuck do you do that? How do you do it? It's literally called Kaching. Are you fucking kidding me?
And I decided to prove it by beating the game without ever paying a cent. There were definitely points where I thought I found a catch, but every time I snoop around I find out that there are no real predatory catches. For example, around the world there are big statues that heal your party, but these statues can only heal you for a limited amount every day. And I thought that was the catch.
That sounds
This
dumb.
would be the time limiter that would lock you into waiting unless you pay. But
Yeah.
nope, one of the core mechanics is cooking, which heals your party. Not to mention that a lot of characters are healers after all. Then I thought that the moon thingies would be the predatory block. And while I believe there is a way to bypass it with money, farming those materials doesn't seem to be a crucial block. Unless you are at the very end of the game where you likely already beat the game. It seems like all you need is just a little bit of patience and...
I think what I'll probably do is I'll probably play the game free to play until I think that it would be more entertaining to whale.
It doesn't even matter. What's also important to mention that Genshin is quite a casual game.
I can see
There is
that.
no PvP and you can beat...
No, for me, like, the reason why I started doing it in Lost Ark is because it just wasn't fun to watch somebody farm Chaos Dungeons over and over. It's just that simple. It's boring. So I just skipped it.
most of the bosses with any character and any gear. Unless it is time limited, which means you need damage. So while you can definitely say that these mechanics are pay to win, you don't feel encouraged to get into the pay to win scheme. Because you are not forced into competing with anyone. So
does this game have any leaderboards? Like, are there any leaderboards in this game at all? No. Okay. Yeah, then it doesn't matter.
At the end of the day, all the traps around Genshin Impact are laid around pulling characters. And unfortunately, the hook of this game is so good that once you pay once, you're gonna pay again. It simply encourages you to go for more. They have pity mechanics, which means that even though you got nothing from the pool, the next time you buy, the chances are higher. This is...
I think, like, I mean, obviously, like, Rich spent, like, tens of thousands of dollars on this game. I think Tectone is into the six figures into it. It was nuts. Absolutely fucking nuts. Yeah, Tectone, yeah, 300K? Oh my god. Oh.
This is how these games function in general. Statistically, it was proven that all you need to do is pay once for a game. After that, you are much more likely to spend more because you already feel invested in the game.
You break down those barriers.
This is why Genshin is extremely dangerous.
Yes.
If you pay for a bad gacha game, you're an idiot. But Genshin's design is legitimately good. You are likely to feel justified to spend money in this game. And that's where you need to be really careful. But again, I am a living proof that you don't have to spend a cent. The base gameplay makes it a really fun RPG without spending.
I'm not a fan. I still think they should have like laws against like buying things in video games that have like uncertain outcomes. I think everything you buy in a video game, it should have a very definitive outcome. Like if you spend $10 in a game, you should know exactly what you're getting every single time, and that's it. There should never be a gamble. There should never be you buy a ticket to do a gamble, or you buy Resonance or something like that. There's like, or crests like in Diablo Immortal. It should never happen. There's no value, there's no improvement to the customer experience. All it is simulating gambling. There's nothing good about it. And the reason why every company does it, though, is because it works. It works really well.
Any money. And on top of that, I can mention another cool thing. To buy wishes, which are the core gacha mechanic, you spend a currency known as Primo Gems, which you can get a lot of throughout the game for free. It literally comes from everywhere. Opening chests, doing challenges, doing quests, doing events, claiming achievements, reading tutorials.
Those are all one-times though, right? Usually achievements and quests and chests are one-times.
Tutorials, logging in, scratching your butt. Anything you do gives you Primo Gems.
That's the thing,
and I believe that's by design so that you engage with the gacha system often.
Right.
That way you are more likely to pay.
Well, it's like if you have, the thing is, like, let's say you have 9 of the pulls, but you need 10, like maybe you buy the 10th one, right? That's how it
seems like
gets
the
you
game
into
gives you about 20 pulls per week, which is honestly fine. Now, I am aware that some of these are one-time claims.
Or like 20
the
pulls a
chests
minute.
will go away, just like some of the already set down quests or achievements. So I asked around if it is just a bait, if the currency flow will slow down later, and the majority of people told me no. It seems like the late game will have other systems that will help you with that. It is true that at the beginning you get a bunch of wishes for free to try and hook you in.
Yeah.
But after that, it seems like there is still a nice and steady stream of Primo Gems. So again, you really don't have to pay for this game to enjoy it. So all you have to do is calm down your horny side. What also helps is that by law, the game has to tell you what chances you have in your wishes. If you wanna do your homework, this is the formula for all the drops. Now, before we...
So based off of the math that I see here, it looks like it's gonna cost a lot of money. Yeah, it's gonna be a lot of money.
Move on, I have to show you something that happened to me. I keep saying that the gameplay is fun and the combat is amazing, but that could be because on literally my first ever pull in this game, this happened.
I got 10, I know. What do I do now?
Is this... I thought it was... Oh, that's smart. So you get the, you can do it for 8... Oh, wow. 10 pull is always better. Yeah, guys. In case you didn't know, always do 10 pulls, guys. Never do single pulls. Single pulls are for, like, peasants or peons. Always 10 pulls.
Where do I click? Click wish. Wait, so I wouldn't get her unless I would go to this page specifically and do the wish.
Oh, they got a yellow one.
Wait, what did I do? What did I... What's happening? Did I pull some... What's happening? So I guess everyone is guessing what character I got.
Oh, what?
Oh, that's a very cool guy.
Oh, wow.
That's a guy with a big sword. And it's on fire.
Yeah, I need to play this.
0.6% chance. Dude, I've been grinding.
0.6. Holy shit. Out of his first box.
Wow. I've been grinding mounts that are 0.1% chance. This is fine.
Yes, apparently I pulled one of the most desirable characters in this entire game. From the first 10 free wishes you get. And I quickly found out why he is cool. The damage is not really a big point here. No matter how many stars a character has, it should always be somewhat balanced. So that doesn't matter. I just quickly found out that a lot of the obstacles the game sets in front of you can be solved with him. Some puzzles need you to spread a lot of fire around. Well, he has a big fire AoE.
That's
When
convenient.
you are mining, a small sword mines a lot slower than a big claymore.
That makes
so
sense.
of course, this guy has a big sword.
Oh, shit.
And when you are mining unique stones, you need a big explosion to crack it open.
Well, we need
so
to
of
get
course,
this
the
guy.
big sword also causes big
Yeah.
explosions. Also, in this game, the character's
They said he gets
movement speed
replaced?
is based on their gender and how tall they are.
Uh-oh.
Taller characters are faster than shorter ones, and the male character is faster than female.
Oh.
Of course, this is a tall dude. So yeah, a pretty cool character on my first pull, after which I did a second pull. But I still feel confident you don't have to pay. You get free pulls anyway, and the game is a blast regardless. Lastly, I can mention that this game also have skins. At least, I think so. Throughout the last 2 years, they did not release a lot of them.
Okay.
I wonder if it was just not that successful, so they are slowly backing away. But that's it for the game, so that takes us to our final destination. The community.
Oh,
Here I have
these are the people on Twitter. I know about this.
Talk about my own experience. Ever since I started playing Genshin, the Genshin community embraced me. And people seem to really love watching someone experience what they already know for the first time. Once again, my views on Twitch more than tripled,
That's
which
a
is
lot.
something I did not expect. This is simply insane to me.
It's lit.
And since I'm having a blast, I think it helps the overall situation. Also, I learned about the memes like or lament, or balls. And as I'm going through the story,
I know the
people keep
last one,
spamming in my chat
but I don't know
walls
from
of
Genshin.
anti-spoilers. Thank you guys. And people are totally fine with me experiencing what is referred to as 1.0 moments. Which means glitching through the early dungeons, glitching through the floor, and experiencing stories
they have
where
that
the
in Tower of
characters
Fantasy.
don't even bother with finishing their sentences.
So,
Who dares trespass on my mountain?
Oh, they have that in New World.
Excuse, can you stop having strokes? Can you finish your lines?
Foolish mortal, come forth and receive your punishment.
Can you finish your lines?
If I got a quarter for every time this happened, I would have 6 quarters. Which is not a lot, but god damn, why did it happen 6 times? So yes, I have to say the Genshin community is kinda great. But for every 1,000 people, there is that one guy. It's the guy who...
Yeah, I feel like a lot of the people in the Genshin Impact community, I remember whenever I tweeted this out. Let me see if I can find this here. Asmongold, Genshin Impact. Okay. So I tweeted this out. This was like last year. And as you guys can see, it got 22,000 likes. And people were very positive. Oh, God. Yeah, people were very positive about it. They were really happy. Like, there was obviously a few other people that were not. But overall, I would say that the community was positive towards me as well.
really hates it, and he can't stand anyone having fun in this game, especially it's the people you find on Twitter, out of all places.
Yeah.
And it's kind of funny how, unlike in League, the toxicity comes from around the Genshin player base. It does not come from within, which is something I'm definitely not used to. Those who actually play the game are fine with it. So just keep that in mind if you ever get scared by the Genshin community. Just don't
I
go
don't think it really fucking matters, man. Like, it's like the Final Fantasy community has weirdos, the WoW community has weirdos, I'm sure Genshin has weirdos, like, every community has weirdos. And the thing is, the bigger the community is, the more weirdos it's going to have if it has the same percentage of weirdos. That's just the way math works.
to Twitter. That place is a hellhole, which is why I'm using it the most, I guess. But overall, I learned that people either really love the game or they really hate the game. There is no in between. And I'm curious to see if my opinion on the game changes over time. But that's really it. So, let's sum it all up. The game has some really good points. Gameplay is great. Combat is amazing.
It's lit.
Story is very good.
Ooh.
Besides PC, I also played Genshin on both PlayStation and mobile phone. I can tell you on PS5 the game looks gorgeous.
Does Genshin have autoplay?
On my phone, I could do dailies on it, but I wouldn't
No?
recommend a full
Oh,
playthrough on your
fuck.
phone. When it comes to the bad stuff, so far I am in the early game. And I noticed there is not a lot of challenging content. I was really hoping there would be some kind of a Dark Souls challenge, but from what people tell me, apparently there is not. Every problem can be
Look, Genshin is not made for people that are super serious. That's not what the game is for. Now, if they put a few bosses like that out in the world, I don't think it's a big deal. I don't care. I don't think who gives a fuck. But they probably just don't want to do that.
fixed with money, even though you really don't have to. And every time I did find something challenging, it was challenging because I was
You're like way
low
under
level.
leveled. Yeah.
So in the future, I'd really love some optional, harder content. But who knows, maybe the end game is gonna surprise me. Also,
I
the
heard it
only
won't.
really scummy thing that you can find in Genshin is that it heavily relies on FOMO. There are events which are really cool,
Like every
but the
single
content
game.
from those events will always go away, which means that entire storylines for some of those characters just vanish.
There it
It's
is.
usually not stuff that you can buy that goes away, but it's always stuff that makes you log in and hopefully engage with the gacha system. For example, there was an event where you could get Aloy as a character for simply leveling up your adventure rank.
Oh, that's cool.
A few weeks later, the character became unobtainable.
Ooh.
You didn't have to buy anything, you just had to log in and get tempted by all the new stuff. This is something I'll get better opinion on as I keep playing the game. But from people I learned that FOMO and events are a big drive for Genshin. Another thing I haven't experienced yet is content drought. I've heard that right before I tried Genshin for the first time, there was a bit of a break between content.
I feel like content drought for a lot of people, it's like it's number one, it's not an MMO. Number two, just play another game. There's so many people that want to play one game and then make it to where that one game will never run out of content. And guess what? Blizzard did that in fucking Legion, BFA, and Shadowlands. Is that you can play the game 24/7 and you will never run out of things to do. And it was exhausting. It was awful. Let people finish.
But of course, I won't see that because there is a lot of new content there for me. So I wonder if I'll also run into that issue later. And finally, because I am constantly streaming Genshin, I'm doing all the grindy stuff off stream, so I can always save the main story for content.
Yeah, sure,
The
that's
main
what I
quests
did.
are supposed to be locked behind the adventure rank, which you're supposed to get by doing a little bit of a grind with the exploration. And of course, I'm doing all the grinds behind the streams. So I have not hit a point where the story would tell me, go off and grind. So far I managed to stay ahead with the adventure rank. So I
Tectone says in chat, the problem is the content that gets added to Genshin isn't real content. It's walking around barren wasteland picking up resources that they try to force you to do summons on characters that you'll never get. And will get power crept 2 patches later anyway. Yeah, I've been spending years doing that in WoW. That's not too big of a deal. Yeah, no, I'm going to see. I'm going to play it, and I'm going to see for myself. That's right. Yeah, every MMO works that way. It's the same as like remember how Nick spent $18,000 on Lost Ark to do Argos? You spend $18,000 to kill a goat. That's way too much money to kill a goat. I tell you, you kill a goat for $100. It was not that much. Yeah, you buy a goat, kill $100 at the most. And he's like, probably, I bet Nick's item level is like, it's probably below one of the Hyper Express tickets now. Whereas, like, look at my item level. Remember how I was like 1490 and I had like best in slot gear? And then the new stuff came out and it didn't matter? Yeah, same thing.
have not experienced the downsides of everything being locked behind the adventure rank just yet.
Tectone is actually
We'll
talking
see
a load
if
of
that
shit.
changes
Is
later.
that right?
And that's it. That's my first impression of Genshin Impact. I came here expecting some really bad stuff. Perhaps a bit of predatory stuff. And I just found an awesome game that I missed. I will definitely stick around for the anime story. And I might make 2 more Genshin videos. One where I review the entire story, and a second one to summarize my entire journey. I mean, so far I only got through 1.0 and look at this monstrous video. I still strongly doubt I will become a full-on Genshin content creator. I don't have the experience with the world for that. Genshin was supposed to be just a one-time stop on my journey to explore all sorts of video game stories.
See, my ultimate goal is to play all of these games so I can farm all of their controversies for content on YouTube. That's my goal. So yeah, like I have to know enough about the game to know why the game sucks, and I can create videos about why it sucks, or react to other people who made videos about why it sucked. It's that simple.
At the end of the day, I am really glad I picked up this game
because
it
opened
a whole
new
world for me. Which is more than Nintendogs ever did for me.
I hated that shit game. I actually hated Nintendo.
Hello there! Thank you for watching. If you have any other suggestions as to
what
what other games I should be exploring in the future, let me know in any way. I think I'm getting closer to actually diving into Warhammer, but I believe I might do Hollow Knight before that. Also, should we talk about the source code of League of Legends being leaked? Either way, feel free to become a member of the channel, because that's where I'm constantly teasing all the future videos.
How long is this going to last? All right. Wow, what a video. What a fucking video. Oh my god. That's a lot. God damn. Watch the 30 million Genshin trailer? I will whenever it comes out, right? I mean, I'll say that. There's the video right there. This is the Necrit video. We've watched a lot of his videos regarding the Riot MMO, the League of Legends derivative MMO. Obviously, he makes great videos. The guy put a lot of work into this. He stood up. You gotta think about it. He stood up for 50 minutes on this video. That's a lot, bro. The fact he had no negative take on the game makes this video sus as hell. Well, a lot of people are going to, this is the way that a lot of people play and do video games, is they start playing them, they're having a lot of fun, and then they play them long enough, and then they're frustrated and they don't like the game anymore. That's just the way things go. That's life. It's not like this is any different than any other game or anything else like that. It's just that people play the game, they really enjoy it a lot, and then after time goes on, they then learn to not enjoy it because they play too many of the elements of the game they don't like, or they run out of the fun parts, and then they focus on the bad parts. Yeah, I mean, I would say 30 hours into a game is absolutely enough to give it a review. Like, I will absolutely say that. Like, guaranteed. 30 hours is a lot of time. Like, unless it's like an MMO or something like that. Yeah, that's a lot, bro. Like, a hell of a lot. There's content around the game after you complete all the available content in 6 weeks between patches, which adds 2 to 4 hours of content between patches. Yeah, but that's 2 to 4 hours of content every 6 to 4 weeks, right? So, like, that's really good for me. You guys got to understand that. Like, we are farming all of the time, okay? Always farming. Never not farming.
I trip.